Welcome, my fellow creative lifers, to the most haunting time of the year, Halloween. But today, we're not just talking about costumes and candies, we're talking about something scarier, real life vampires. No, not the ones with fangs and cloaks, but the ones that drain your creativity, suck your energy, and kill your dreams. You know the ones, right? The voices of self-doubt, fear of failure, even people who don't believe in your creative dreams. Those are the vampires of the soul. What if I told you you could be the creative vampire slayer? Stick around and I'll show you how to slay these dream killers. Before we can start slaying, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Let me introduce you to the 3 of the worst, most creative vampires. The self-doubt vampire. The one who loves to whisper, "You're not good enough," and no one will care about your work. It feeds off your insecurities. It keeps you stuck. Think about the last time you wanted to start a new project. Did this vampire whisper in your ears? I bet it did. I've also had my bout of insecurities. These people that whisper in your ear saying you can't do it. I did it for so long that I did not publish One World United for 10 years. I almost didn't help House of Alcara with their affiliate work. Why? Because I was scared. But, I couldn't let it stop me. I had goals, I had dreams, I had things I wanted to accomplish. And my need, my drive, was able to fix that. The second most dangerous type of vampire, the fear vampire. Fear is another sneaky vampire. It feeds off the unknown, creeping up when you think, what if I fail? Or what if I'm not as good as I think? Fear loves to strike when you're on the edge of greatness. Like right before I get to the movie set, I have this fear. What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't know my lines? What if I fall? What if I trip? What if I stumble? What if I say something absolutely terrible and they can't erase it? What if I break a toe? Now, what's great about that is I have trained myself to not be nervous until after a project. Now, I do have that fear still. Let me just say that. I do have that fear. I am afraid that I'm not good enough for everything. But I don't get nervous and I don't let it overtake me until after it's already done. So then afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so scary. But while it's going on, I'm completely in the moment. I'm about to show you how. But before I do that, the third and most horrible in my opinion, the toxic people vampire. And then there's the one that takes form of real people. The ones who criticize your ideas or belittle your dreams. They might not even realize they're doing it. But toxic people can drain your creativity. They can drain that energy that you have faster than any other vampire that I know. When I told the people all around me growing up, I'm going to be a writer and an actor. I'm going to be a writer and an actor. I can't tell you how many times they told me, you need to get an adult dream. You need to stop that. That's not a viable solution. You can't do that. You can't do it. And I got it from people that I loved, people that I was closest to. And for a long time, I thought they were right. Really, really did. It left me questioning everything. It made me get a real person job and it just was terrible. But I was able to overcome it and do what I had to do work-wise to live, and what I needed to do for my creative life and inspiration to just blow up. Section 2, slaying the vampires. Now, we know who these vampires are. Let's get to slaying. Here are the most 3 powerful ways to fight back and protect your creative soul. Might be a little punny here, but stake self-doubt with action. Have you ever dealt with self-doubt while working on a project? Have you ever felt like you weren't good enough? Has someone in your life ever told you that you couldn't do something? Did you do it anyway? Would you like to do it now if you didn't do it then? The self-doubt vampire hates action. Every time you take even the smallest step forward, you weaken its power. So the next time you feel the self-doubt creeping in and coming close to your ears to tell you how good you're not, just do something. Just start. Don't wait for perfection. Whether it's writing the first sentence of a book, or sketching the first outline of that design, or picking up a piece of monologue and just reading the first 2 words. Action is your wooden stake. For example, when I started working on One World Divided, I had no idea how the story would go. But I started writing. The first book was easy. I knew the story. I had dreamed it. The second book I had to create. And that self-doubt on if I could even pull it off almost didn't make me start. Tip number 2, banish fear with a creative routine. Fear feeds off chaos and uncertainty, but if you give yourself a solid creative routine, it has no room to thrive. This could mean setting aside 15 minutes a day just to create, or creating the list like I'm constantly telling you to do. This is why I have lists, because the more lists you make, the more things you're checking off, the more you're seeing, hey, you know what? I'm doing this, little bits at a time, and that beats down fear. The routine gives you control, and the fear vampire doesn't stand a chance. For me, setting aside time each week to work on designs for House Valkara, or to write without distraction, has been a game changer. Structure fights fear. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Structure fights fear. Make your list, stick to it. Give yourself at least 15 minutes a day to be creative, to feed that beast. And then third and best tip I can give you, wield boundaries like a silver bullet. The toxic vampire can only be defeated with boundaries. These people may not even know they're draining your energy, but it's up to you to protect your creative space. Saying no to negativity and toxic behavior is like loading up your silver bullets. I once had someone question why I was putting so much time into my designs for House Valkara. I could have let that get to me. I mean, on one hand, it almost sounded like they said, "You're not good enough. Why are you even trying?" Like I did with my grandmother, I set a boundary and I told her, hey, you know what? That's not okay. This is my dreams. I plan on doing everything I'm supposed to do, but there's going to be moments what I do when I need to do, because being creative is part of a life. It's not a hobby. And like what they said with Valkara, you know, I could have let that really get to me, but instead I chose to double down, and I made boundaries to keep that negativity out, and I just kept creating. So let's be real, guys. The world is full of creative vampires, and sometimes you might even be your own worst vampire. Self-sabotage happens, but here's the thing. Just recognize those dream killers. Recognize them. You know, recognizing them is a huge step. And once you know they're there, you can fight back. It got to the point where I was afraid to do movies. I was afraid to do a lot of things. My own insecurities and anxieties, you know, gave me social anxiety. Those vampires kept feeding and feeding and feeding, and I didn't want to do anything, and I didn't want to go anywhere. And, you know, I almost talked myself out of going to a house party where it was going to be nothing but actors and writers and directors. And I really needed to go. There were people there I really needed to meet. One of those people happened to be my husband. Had I let that vampire win, would I have ever met him? You can't let that fear stop you. You have to go. What's the worst that can happen? You go to a party and you leave 10 minutes later because it's not what you thought? If I hadn't pushed myself, if I hadn't fought the fear, I wouldn't be where I am now. So, if you're ready to be a creative vampire slayer, remember, stake self-doubt with action, banish fear with a routine, and wield boundaries like silver bullets. You've got this. Don't let those vampires win. If this resonates with you, if you feel like this is speaking directly to you, hit that like button. Share this video with fellow creatives who need a little help slaying their own vampires. And don't forget to subscribe for more creative tips, personal stories, and inspirations. Thanks for watching, fellow creative vampire slayers. Stay spooky, stay creative, stay weird, and remember, no vampire can kill your passion if you don't let them.